Part of me wishes I'd done this review back when the COVID started, just so I can show this up and tell everybody to wash their goddamn hands and everything. But better late than never, I suppose. Also, I love this.
This is too much!
In the end, you will thank me.
Whoa! Whoa!
If you could fight anyone, who would you fight?
Shatner. I'd fight William Shatner.
We all know the first rule, but we can't help ourselves. We gotta talk about it. Yours truly, Brevin Thompson, is back to talk about a beloved cult classic for the 1990s, Fight Club, which was directed by David Fincher and stars Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter. Quick little personal story about my history with this movie. At first, I didn't watch it all the way through back then, and I mean, because I only watched bits and pieces of it here and there with my dad, and I know a lot of you are gonna call bullshit on that because I mean I've had Fight Club in my Blu-ray collection for quite some time, but I never really felt compelled to watch it for some reason until recently, about a couple weeks ago, when I watched it with a group of my friends, and I watched it at least 5 or 6 times after that, and I've really come to love this movie, just like many people have over the years. Because back then, I mean, it didn't do well with critics, it didn't do well at the box office, but until it eventually came out on DVD, many people fell in love with Fight Club, and I can definitely see why. And if you're one of the few unfortunate people who have not by any chance have the chance to check out this film, I implore you, stop watching the video right now, check out the movie, then come back to know about my full thoughts on the film. So this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you have not had any chance to check out Fight Club, that is your warning. So the story revolves around Edward Norton's character, simply known as the narrator, who is going on with his everyday life and his office job, but he's also struggling with insomnia. To cope with his insomnia, he starts attending support groups for people who have various diseases, such as melanoma, tuberculosis, blood parasites, testicular cancer, and eventually things are turning out well for him until Helena Bonham Carter's character shows up, Marla Singer, and starts doing the same thing that he's doing. And eventually, that's when the narrator bumps into Tyler Durden, played by Brad Pitt. They eventually start Fight Club, and mayhem ensues. One of the biggest positives for the film is the acting, particularly from Edward Norton and especially Brad Pitt, as both the narrator and Tyler Durden. And because of how good they are in this film, I am shocked that these two actors weren't even nominated for an Oscar because of their work on this film, because in my opinion, that's how good that these two actors are as these characters. Another thing I like about this film is the direction given by David Fincher, how it's beautifully shot, and how edited it is. There's one sequence in particular that I think is one of my favorites in the film, where the narrator is breaking the fourth wall, going over Tyler's night jobs, and one in particular of him working as a projectionist, and how he's splicing single frames of pornography in the family films, which is kind of disturbing but also unintentionally hilarious, and how Tyler worked as a waiter and him pissing on the soup. I'm just okay, that's fucked up, but I can't help but laugh at it. There's certain moments in the film that are both disturbing but also kind of hilarious at the same time. And one other scene that's also kind of disturbing but hilarious at the same time is when Tyler and a few members of Project Mayhem take the police commissioner who's in the bathroom. They tape him up, and then Tyler goes, "You're going to call off your investigation, say that there is no underground group, or these guys are going to take your balls. Do not fuck with us." It's just, every line that Tyler Durden gives in the film, I mean, it's just very quotable, and it makes Tyler one of my favorite movie characters of all time.
We cook your meals, we haul your trash, we connect your calls, we drive your ambulances, we guard you while you sleep. Do not
or when the narrator beats the ever living shit out of himself to like blackmail his boss into giving him what he wants. It's just some of the shit in this film is really unintentionally hilarious. Now, when it comes to the film's twist with the narrator finding out that he and Tyler are the same person, with the narrator suffering from DID, dissociative identity disorder, how that twist works, it works extremely well. Although I can understand that twist like confusing a lot of people, because of like how the narrator throughout the film has been interacting with Tyler, and like we see like Tyler like doing like various things with the narrator like still in the same place. I can understand that confusing like so many people, but how it works, how this sequence is shot, like showing the narrator acting like Tyler, how the sequence is edited with the big reveal. I'm just like, that's how you do a twist. And everything about the third act is like one of the few third acts that like seriously gets your heart pumping, with the narrator trying his best to prevent Project Mayhem, with Tyler like beating the shit out of him, and I mean with him like the narrator trying to prevent like one of the bombs from going off, and when they're in this building, and I mean there's like this back and forth exchange between the narrator and Tyler, and with the narrator eventually like taking a gun and like shooting himself in the mouth to like make Tyler go away, and when the bombs go off, that's just like holy shit. Him, the narrator, and Marla Singer are like watching the entire thing, and it couldn't have ended better than that. I like the concept of Project Mayhem can't be stopped because of like how much of an influence Tyler had over people, over the narrator, and that's how you end a David Fincher film, in my opinion. But before I share my final thoughts on the film, I have my good friends Griffin and Edward from Nerd Doctors collaborating with me on Fight Club. I'm so happy to have them here on this channel. So before I share my final thoughts on Fight Club, now to you guys.
Game. Yeah, thanks, Brevin, and thank you for having us on Brevin's Flicks and Games. As he said, my name's Griffin, and my friend over here is Edward.
Hey, guys.
So yeah, overall, I thought the movie was... I've heard many good things about this movie, but frankly, it just may not have been for me. In the beginning, I was more into it. It was good, yeah. I got it. But then as the story continued on in like the last hour of the movie, it just took such a turn that I can't really say I like it too much anymore. It took away from the overall feeling of the movie about how everyone was just feeling, and just instead went to the complete other side of the spectrum, to the extreme, and just let's just blow up some buildings. It takes away from a grounded movie into a much more unrealistic aspect that I think takes away from it being somewhat relatable to me.
Yeah, I agree with Griff. By the way, thanks a lot, Brett, for having us on your show. Shout out to your viewers. And this movie came out when I was in high school, and I remember all my friends were like really into it. I was the one guy that was like, nah, it's not for me. I've seen it again, of course. The two main actors, Brad and Edward, are fantastic. But the movie, like Griff says, I kind of almost felt like I was watching American Psycho with Christian Bale. Like, it starts off like a certain movie, and then there's a scene in there where like he's killing a cat and fucking buildings are blowing up. That's how I felt here. If you turn away from this movie, if you go to the bathroom and come back, shit's blowing up and you're like, this is not what I was originally watching. That's how I felt. So I completely agree.
Yeah, and I get like how this movie's supposed to be a bit of a criticism of modern day society in the late 90s and how filmmakers were viewing it, but maybe it's just that it's 20 something years later, but it doesn't resonate as well, which I believe, like I said, age, like the movie aging has something to do with it. But if you like action movies, I think it is something to go watch. But I'm not the biggest fan of action, of just action movies. And also the twist at the end. I think most people are familiar with it, and now by now the narrator and the main character are the same. But the more you think about it, the less that makes sense. Because who who are these people watching in the Fight Club? Who is people just watching this crazy guy talk on the bus? It just things start to make a lot less sense the more you think about it as you watch the movie.
Yeah, but remember, these are just our opinions, guys. So at the end, just if you haven't seen it, watch it, make up your own mind. For the most part, it's got entertaining actors in it. If you like cool fight scenes, it's got some cool fight scenes in it. Those are my thoughts on it. Once again, Reverend, thank you so much for having us. Griff, you have any more thoughts?
Yeah, thank you again for having us, Brevin. It was a joy to be here, and we hope to do it again sometime. Please come check us out on our YouTube channel, The Nerd Doctors, and hopefully we'll see some of you guys later. Thank you again, Brevin.
So overall, when it comes to Fight Club, this is one of the best films from the 90s. It's one of David Fincher's best films. And like I said earlier, I'm shocked that Brad Pitt and Edward Norton weren't nominated for Oscars because of their work on this film. And hell, even Helena Bonham Carter as Marla Singer was really good in this film. I mean, nobody gives a bad performance. I mean, everything from its direction, its acting, its music, to its cinematography, to its editing, everything about it just makes it a perfect film in my eyes. I have I've seen it in this movie like a few times over the past few weeks, and I've watched it like a hawk for flaws, and this is pretty much a flawless film in my eyes. If I had to make a list of my top 10 favorite films of all time, I'd be shocked if I didn't add Fight Club into that list, because that's how good Fight Club is in my eyes. So if you can't tell already, I love Fight Club. This is one of my favorite films. And of course, that means that Fight Club deserves an A+. So what did y'all think of Fight Club? Let me know in the comments below. And a big thank you to Edward and Griffin for collaborating with me on Fight Club. You guys are the best. And guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Looking forward to doing more videos really soon. And if you want my thoughts on old or new films, of course, you know where to find me.